All right, this is part B, and it's going to be a little bit complicated, but we're going to be going over it again and again and again so that you will be able to get it and understand. All right, so the first thing you need to know is about your coagulation factors themselves. Number one, they're given Roman numerals. Please, please, please do not use your regular numerals. Number two, they are produced by the liver. Must be quantitative and qualitatively correct. Means I have to have just the right amount and it has to work. If I don't have enough and or they aren't even working, then I'm going to have a problem. Let's see, the numbers. So we're going to have Roman numeral 1 through 13. Now what you're going to need to remember is that they were given the Roman numerals in the order of which they were discovered, not by the way it goes. So it doesn't go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. So you're just going to have to kind of remember the numbers and how they're working. And the other thing which I mentioned before is that they are circulating in our plasma as inactive forms, and the inactive forms are called zymogens, right? Zymogens. Okay. Okay, now when we are writing our factors, let's just say this is 10. If I write factor 10 like that, it means that it's just factor 10 and it's zymogen. Or i.e. not activated. In order for me to show that it is activated, I have to put an A by it, and that means that it's activated. All right, so no A, zymogen with an A, that means it's activated. Now the next part, you're just going to have to go and look at the charts and look at the tables, because you're just going to have to remember the names of your factors. All right, such as factor 1 is fibrinogen. Now remember, factor 1, fibrinogen, and we said we had to go through the whole system to get from thrombin to fibrin, right? And how did we get there? We needed fibrinogen. So they actually found fibrinogen first, that's why it's called factor 1. Factor 2 is prothrombin. Factor 3 is tissue factor. Now factor 4 is really not a coagulation factor, it's called calcium. 5 is labile factor. 6, there is no factor 6. Remember, there is no factor 6. 7 is stabilizing factor. 8, anti-hemophiliac factor A. Factor 9, Christmas factor or anti-hemophilia B. Factor 10, Stewart-Prower factor. 11, plasma thrombin antecedent. 12, Hageman factor. And 13, stabilizing factor. Now, some of these are given names. So when we're talking, we're going to go, well, it's supposed to, factor is supposed to go all the way down to thrombin. So I may not, well no, I do that for that. So let me see, which is the one? Fibrinogen? Anyway, what I'm trying to get is sometimes when you're reading your book, they will give you the name rather than not the factor number. So you kind of have to go back and forth with that, and nothing I can do about that. You're just going to have to look at your tables and boxes to remember what those are. Okay. Oh, there's also some other factors that are there. HMWK, sometimes just called WK, and PK, high molecular weight kininogen and kininogen. So those are other factors that you're going to have to remember. And when we look at the factors, and again, look at your box, they're going to be considered cofactors, substrate, or enzymes. And when they're given that designation, it has to do with the job that they're doing. Okay? All right. Okay, let me see. So remember primary hemostasis, platelet and vasculature. We've already gone all over that. Now, the platelets again, they're giving the surface area, and one thing that I have not mentioned yet is that the basic charge of that is a negative charge. So the platelets provide the negative charge phospholipids, and basically factor 10 and factor 2 activation there. So remember when I had the platelet, I said it really liked 10 and 2. So that's what you have to remember. It likes 10 and 2. So when we have 10 and 2, that's going to start the different kinds of your platelet cascades. All right. Now, so how does it provide this surface and do all this stuff? By the platelets doing the shape changes, right? It does the shape changes. So it's going to change the shapes. It's going to adhere to the endothelium. Then they're going to aggregate. Come guys, come on, let's come to the party, come to the party. They're going to aggregate. They're going to be secreting their contents. And then we've got like consolidation. So again. All right. The fire reporting system. Okay. Release of tissue factor. I've already said that. Okay. Yeah. I'm going to be drawing this out. It might be a little messy, but I'm going to do my best. So when we look at the actual cascades, the Coag cascades, we have 3 coagulation cascades. Okay? Or let's just say pathways. I won't say cascade. Well, the reason it's called a cascade because it goes from one to the other. Excuse me, I need some water. Okay, it's going from one to the other, kind of like the complement system that we talked about during the summer. All right, so 3 Coag pathways. One is very quick and easy. The other 2 a little bit more complicated. All right, the first one is the extrinsic pathway. Extrinsic pathway. The second one is the intrinsic pathway. And the third is the common pathway. Now, both of these are going to lead to the common. The laboratory test that we're going to do for the extrinsic pathway is called the PT. And the Coag test for the intrinsic is called the PTT. There are other tests that we do, like the TT, the thrombin time, and reptilase time, and all these other things. But these are the 2 basic ones you need to remember, and they always ask you the PT test for extrinsic, the PTT for the intrinsic. Okay, so very, very easy. The extrinsic pathway begins with tissue factor. So we're going to have tissue factor. And I need calcium. Okay, so I'm going to begin extrinsic with the tissue factor and the calcium. These guys together are going to activate factor 7. Okay, so right now it's a zymogen because it's just factor 7. So once it gets active, actually let me do it like this. 7 is going to go to 7A. So tissue factor and calcium activates or helps 7 go to 7A. And then what I want to, right here, want to know, make sure that you know, the common is factor 10. So that's where the common pathway begins, with factor number 10. So once I get to 7, I'm going to go down to my 10. Okay, now the intrinsic, I think I'm going to use green. The intrinsic begins with factor 12. All right, so I'm going to have factor 12, 10, 11, 12. Okay, and it also uses 11. Then it uses, factor 9. And then all of that is going to lead to factor 8 stimulation. Oh, I hope I don't run out of room. Factor 8 stimulation plus platelet factor number 3. And then all of that leads down to my common, which begins with factor 10. So remember I said, I keep going off camera. So remember I said there was a really easy one and the other's a little bit more complicated. Okay, so the really easy one is the extrinsic factor. Again, beginning with tissue factor, we've got collagen and all that other stuff, and calcium, 7 to 7A. Now there's more stuff to this, but 7 to 7A. 7A goes down to the common pathway at 10. Your intrinsic pathway begins with 12, 11, 9, and then this will activate your factor 8, plus I need platelet factor 3. Once I get to here, once it's here, then all of this will go down and lead to your common pathway. All right, so your common pathway starts with 10, and then it goes down to 5, factor 5, and then all of that is going to lead to your factor 2, then we've got factor 1, and then we've got factor 13, and factor 13 is just the stabilizing part. Okay, so that is a very, very concise way that the Coag pathways are. We've got the extrinsic, the intrinsic, and the common pathway. Extrinsic, the simple one, intrinsic, and then the common. Extrinsic is extremely fast. This is very slow. Okay, so that's why we have to have a fast way to get clotting started, and then there's a slower, much better way to have this done. Okay, so what I'm going to do now, this was just basically a linear thing, and I hope I don't blow your minds a little bit again. All right, I didn't do this in color, but let me see. Well, I'll just do this one. All right, so extrinsic pathway. Okay. First of all, we've got tissue damage. Okay, because first of all, we've got tissue damage. And what's going to happen is we need 7 going to 7A. Okay. Now, sometimes the A can be in front, or sometimes, oh, I said in front and I put it backwards. So sometimes it can be in front or it can be in the back. As long as it has the A, I know that it is 7. Now, how does 7 get to 7A? I need your tissue factor, do what I had before up there, and I need my calcium. Woohoo! That is so easy, right? So that is your extrinsic pathway. Let me do this. I'll put it in another color. Orange. Extrinsic pathway. That's your extrinsic pathway. And let me write this better. All right. Now, we said that your extrinsic pathway was going to go down to the common. That is true. But there's another thing that it does also. But before I do that, I'm going to put in the intrinsic pathway. Okay. So intrinsic pathway, I think you can still see over here. Oh, okay, well, intrinsic pathway. So, yeah, okay. Intrinsic pathway. All right. Now, in your intrinsic pathway, I said it started with factor 12. So, factor 12 has to go to 12A. Well, how does it get to 12A? Well, it gets to 12A by your collagen and etc. Okay, so collagen, etc. Now, your 12A has to go to 11. So then we're going to put 11 here. All right. Well, how in the world does that work? Okay. How that works is with your HKs and your PKs, the one that I mentioned before. Now, this is a very slow process. Okay. That is a very slow process. This is fast. Okay, that's fast. Okay, that's very slow. All right, then your oh wait, I did that wrong. No, I didn't. 10. Yeah, 12 goes to 11. Yes. And then, all right, so then we have to go make 11. See, I get myself confused. Then I have to go from 11 to activate it to 11A. All right, so how do I get to 11A? Well, how I get to 11A, 10, 11, 10, 11A, 10, 11. All right, this is going to get a little bit complicated because we have two things happening at the same time. So I've got 10 going to 11A, and then my 7A is going to be helping my 11, my 7A is helping my 11. So again, remember I said it gets a little bit complicated. So we've got this coming in over here. The other thing that I need is calcium. Wait, did I do this right? I did that wrong. Erase, right? Okay, 11 goes to 11A, and I need calcium here. Calcium. And then 11, oh, it's because I'm drawing it different here. 10 to 11, all right. 11 has to go to 9. That's 9. All right. All right. When I go here, I also need calcium. All right. Seven A activated is going to help go to my 9. All right, now I need to get to 9A, 10, that's 9A. All right, 10 goes to 9A. Now, we also said that 7A and 9 go down into 10, right? I want to make sure I said that right. Did I put that here? No, I didn't put that there. I didn't put that there. Where did I put it? Oh, it's right here. Yeah. Goes to, okay, 9, yes. So 9. 9, but I said I needed 8, but we'll get to that, 9. So I'm going to put 10 in red, like I did before. 10 is really important because it's the common. All right. So we said that 7 went into 10. Okay. 7 goes into 10. And 9 is going to go into 10. Oh, wait a minute. You said about 8. Yes, I'm getting there. I'm getting there with number 8. Let's do 8 in blue. All right. I need 8, 5, 6, 7, 8. Going to 8A, 5, 6, 7, 8A. Okay. And in order for this to work, I need calcium and I need my platelet factor 3. Okay. So in order for 9 to get to 10, I need 8. So intrinsic 12, 11, 9, 8, 10. Extrinsic 7 to 10, but it helps in the intrinsic pathway at number 9. Very good. We got that. Now, because both of these things are activating onto 10, I like this color. What did I do with the top? Okay. Since that's going into factor 10, these two guys are actually helping 10 go to 10A. Okay. Now, the next step that's going to be happening is that your 10A, I think I'm going to run out of room here. I hope I don't. 10A, in the presence of your calcium and your platelet factor 3, okay, what that's going to do, I'm going to kneel down a bit. What that's going to do, and also I need your factor 5 to A, and both of these things working here, 10 to 10A, 10 is going to go to 10A, 10A is going to go to factor 3, well no, factor 2 prothrombin, which is factor 2. Okay. Now, in order, 10 has to go to 2. 10, can you see me? Oh yeah, I'm on the floor. 10 has to go to prothrombin 2, but it can't do that unless it has factor 5 and calcium and platelet factor 3. Whew, this is like really complicated. Now, what you do need to know, I'm going to use my green one, is where this is all occurring. So remember I said that the platelets make a platelet surface for all this to happen. So you need to know that all of this part here in green up to your 9, yeah, 9A, yeah. This part here occurs on the surface of the platelets. So this occurs okay. Now remember that I told you guys that when I drew my little platelet like this, in here I said I love 10 and 2. So that's why it's occurring on the platelet surface. I love 10 and I love 2. So that part is occurring on the surface. This part occurs in the attachment with the tissue. This part here with 7 is going to come in and work with the rest of the platelets. It's going to go down, and at factor 10 and 2 is where it's really going to start coming together. Now, factor 2, remember, what did I keep saying? The coagulation factors have to get to thrombin. So we haven't gotten to thrombin yet, right? We've done all this, and now I've gone to prothrombin. So, you know, if I'm prothrombin, what am I going to get to? I'm going to get to thrombin. Okay, I'm going to get to thrombin. Okay, now, I ran out of space. All right, so I'm gonna, let's see if I can tilt the camera down a little bit so I can, oh, that's not the one. What's the one that tilts you? Oh, this was it. Huh. Ah. No, it's got to be that one. Sorry, I'm trying to tilt the camera down, and it doesn't appear it wants to do that. Hold on. There we go. I just need a little bit more. Okay. So, drop my marker. All right, so thrombin. Thrombin has got to go to fibrinogen. Okay, so remember, prothrombin is number 2. Thrombin is 2A. Thrombin has to go to fibrinogen. Fibrinogen is factor 1. Okay. Then your fibrinogen is going to go to fibrin monomers. Fibrin monomers. And I'm going to talk all about these monomers, etc. When we talk about this. Okay. So that's one, fibrin monomers, 1A. Okay, now, your fibrin monomers are going to go to fibrin polymers, and then we finish with a stable clot. Now, how did all that happen? All right, so we need factor 13. So I'm going to put in factor 13 here. 10, 11, 12, 13. Factor 13. All right, so factor 13 has to go to 13A. But how is it going to do that? It does it by thrombin. Oh! Sorry. I knocked it all down. Now, thrombin. Sorry about that. Thrombin is really, really important. So you really have to remember about thrombin. Thrombin goes to fibrinogen. Thrombin helps 10. The 10A then goes to the polymers to make the stabilizing clot. And that's why factor 13 is called stabilizing factor. Now, what I said with thrombin. Thrombin is really, really important. Gosh, maybe I should use red because thrombin is really, really important. All right, so I'm going to change thrombin's arrows to red. Okay, so thrombin goes to fibrinogen. Thrombin goes to your 13. Thrombin also goes back to work on your prothrombin, so it just keeps doing this like a circle so that it can make more fibrinogen. And thrombin also works on 5. Okay, and thrombin also works on 8. All right, so you can see that thrombin is extremely, extremely important. So you've got to remember all the things that thrombin does. So remember, I went back and I said, what was the main purpose of these coagulation factors? The main purpose of these factors is to get from coagulation factors to thrombin. Once we are on thrombin, we're going to go to fibrinogen, fibrinogen to fibrin, and a stabilizing clot. Whoa! Wow! That was like really a lot of stuff. So, when we say we've got to get to thrombin, I said this was fast. So this is a fast way to get to thrombin. Fast. Why did my thing work? I smushed it. Thanks to get to thrombin. Right? Fast way to get to thrombin. Slow process, slower way to get to thrombin. All right, I think that I have put that all together. Man. Okay. Let's see. Wow, that is a bunch of stuff. So we have the intrinsic pathway fast, 7 to 7A goes to 10, 10 to thrombin. Fast. Slow, 12 to 11, 11 to 9, 9 to 10. Oh, it popped off. Okay. Alrighty. Let's see here. Clot to clot lysis involved. Now, when we get down to this area, remember, I'm gonna, I kept saying, once I make the clot, I want to dissolve the clot. So when this is happening, I'm actually incorporating into these fibers and things here, I'm actually incorporating into their plasmin and plasminogen, etc. So remember I mentioned tissue plasminogen activator. So what it does, it gets incorporated and it does all that there. All right, so let me see, make sure I make this right. 10 to 10A, calcium, platelet factor 3, prothrombin to thrombin. 13 is here, thrombin works on 13 to 13A, thrombin owes fibrinogen, fibrinogen monitor. Excellent. Okay. All right, so when we get to this stable clot, I messed up my marker, it's all flat. When we get to this stable clot, plasminogen is absorbed into this. Okay, so plasminogen is absorbed into that. All right, now, I'm not going to do it now, but we need to talk about fibrinolysis. So there's actually another pathway here called fibrinolysis. Okay, so we've got 3 pathways, extrinsic, intrinsic, common, that lead to thrombin. Thrombin makes the fibrinogen. Fibrinogen makes the fibrin monomers to a stabilized clot. The stabilized clot is absorbing into it plasminogen in order for it to begin to dissolve. So, when this process of dissolving the clot, we are calling that fibrinolysis. Okay, so fibrinolysis. And that is the physiological process of removing your unwanted fibrin deposits, etc. It's a very gradual process. It's enzymes that are cleaving all this, and one of the tests, I guess I should put that down here, one of the tests that we are looking for to see this process is going to be your D-dimers, FDPs, fibrin degradation products, etc. Oh, sorry, I have to tell my son. Sorry, I'm so sorry. I'm recording, gotta call you back, bye. Sorry. Okay, otherwise it would have been ringing and ringing and ringing because I don't know how to turn it off. Anyway, so now, D-dimers and fibrin degradation products is the test that we're going to do in the laboratory to see if I have the most horrible thing ever, DICs. Okay, so remember we said this is the PT test. This is the PTT test. Now, what test is there for the middle part, Dr. Torres? What part is there? Sorry, I'm going to move this back up again. also okay, so the testing we're doing here, the PT test for extrinsic, PTT for intrinsic. We're doing D-dimers or FDPs, fibrin degradation products, for your products of your clot lysing. And when we find a lot of that, that's really bad and it means they're in a DIC. So oftentimes when we find a patient whose platelets are really low and then they're bleeding and oozing out through their IV lines and other things like that, we have to check for a DIC. Okay, so 3 tests are ready for your coagulation process. Another test we can measure here is TT for your thrombin time. TT for your thrombin time. All right, now, what about a test for the middle? Well, there is no test specifically for the middle, but you have to do the PT and the PTT together. If only the PT is prolonged, and we use the word prolonged because what we do is we time to see how long it takes a clot. If it takes too long to make a clot, it's called prolonged. All right, so if the PT is prolonged, but the PTT is okay, then I know I have a problem with factor 7 or collagen or tissue factor or something like that. If my PTT test is prolonged, then I have a problem, but my PT is okay, then I know I have a problem here. If my PTT and my PT test are prolonged both together, then I know I have a common pathway problem. So that's how we get about that. And then, of course, the other tests that we can do in the laboratory are to actually measure each one of these factors. Like, factor 8. Factor 8 is hemophilia, right? Hemophilia A. Factor 9, hemophilia B, etc. So we can actually measure each one of those also. Wow, that's a lot of stuff. So I want to reiterate the importance of your thrombin. Thrombin is so important. So thrombin acts as a procoagulant because it helps with activation, etc. It's actually an inhibitor also at the same time because it can can you see me? Oh, because it can also bind antithrombin 3 and some other things. And thrombin also acts with tissue repair also. Okay, let's see. So I gave you a little sheet here, and the sheet says thrombin is very important, and it has 3 different jobs: procoagulant, coagulant, and tissue repair. Make sure you know the notes on this page here. All right, so that's that in a nutshell. So going back over both videos, what do you have to know? You have to know your coagulation factors, the number and what they're called. Now, factor 2 prothrombin and 2A thrombin, we usually just call it by the names, but just remember it's 2. 13 is the stabilizing factor. Oh, and 1, fibrinogen. Remember, fibrinogen is factor 1 also. So factors 1 and 2, we usually call them by their names. Everything else by their factors. Oh, also though, if we say Christmas factor, that means factor 9. If we say hemophilia A, hemophilia B, that. So again, you'll have to know those factors with those diseases. So you have to know your factors. You have to know that there are 3 pathways: intrinsic, extrinsic, and common. And that the intrinsic and the extrinsic, even though they are beginning at different modes, they both lead into the number 10. Extrinsic is the easiest to know. Remember, intrinsic begins with 12, 12, 11, 9, and then it goes to 10. But in order for 9 to go to 10, I must have factor 8. Okay. So again, that's it in a nutshell, and we're just going to be continuing on with this again. All right. Whew, that was a lot of stuff, right? All right. Read your book. Bye now.